Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I'm here at the Michigan Renaissance Festival with two of the Rogue Blades, Dave the Knave and Sir James.
Howdy.
Now, there is someone missing from your crew, and who would that be?
Oh, that's Squire Paul.
And why is Squire Paul not here?
Because he's holding the camera. Don't. Stay right there. Don't move.
Hold it, slave.
I wouldn't. Well,
Squire.
Yeah,
Fine.
You know.
Sorry. Squire Paul, I do appreciate you holding the thing. I got a little out of line again. But it's a good thing I have two prints of questions. All right, well,
Neat.
as I mentioned, you are the Rogue Blades.
We are the Rogue Blades.
And you're a comedic sword fighting show.
Yes.
Would you be able to tell the folks at home about the show?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go.
Oh,
Go.
right.
Do it.
So
You're really going to do it? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't expect you to.
It's
all right.
a three-man comedy sword fighting show. It's basically set up so that the Dark Swordsman is coming to challenge me. He thinks he's
in
the
a duel.
greatest.
Yeah, in a duel to the death.
And
that, what's funnier than attempted homicide? Am I right?
Yeah. Wait, what? And so he comes to challenge me to a duel to the death. I have my own squire with me to
Your
help me
bumbling
along.
squire.
My bumbling squire, as every knight has. And,
Quiet.
That's really the gist of it. It's just us coming to a resolution after a bunch of sword fighting and comedy.
Right.
Well, speaking of comedy, who would you say would be your comedic influences?
Wow.
That's a good question.
Nobody's ever asked us that before. Can we have different ones?
Yeah.
Of
you
course, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I might make it easier and take yours.
Since it's a group thing. I like Monty Python and Kids in the Hall. That kind of interaction. A multi-person interaction comedy bit.
Crushing your head.
Exactly.
Crush.
He's already very tiny, so.
I wasn't even going to make any small comments. Come on now, sir.
Oh, don't worry. We got all kinds of them. If Squire Paul was able to get up and come over here, he would make even more ones.
You stay there. Don't move. All right, good.
What about you, Sir James?
I liked a lot of Saturday Night Live, the comedians on there, and some Second City.
You should try being funny like them.
I've tried.
Well,
It doesn't work. I gave that up a long time ago. So that would be my influence, I think.
Fair enough. Sir James and Squire Paul fight with broadswords. Why does Dave the Knave, that being you, fight with a katana now?
All right, I'll be honest with you. The reason I fight with a katana is because I want it to be markedly different from the other guys. And every time, I've had to trade up a few times to different swords, but I always wanted something that looked completely different from theirs. And of course, I loved Highlander when I was younger, and that always kind of stuck with me. And so that's why I picked a katana.
It wasn't based on samurai culture and whatnot?
No, that's far too much work, and they're far too good at things. I'm just a goofball. It is a sword fighting show.
Little influence of Highlander, maybe, I think, as well. He had a katana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said?
You literally just mentioned
I
that.
just said that.
I have a short memory.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Hey, those are my jokes to make.
Guess you're the funny one then. Okay.
All right, fair enough.
Can you tell the folks at home about the lipstick show?
Yes. Why don't you start telling this tale?
Well, Squire Paul came out.
Stay.
Yeah, stay.
No, you don't get to talk about it. You don't get to talk about it. Stay there.
You got to do it. So, anyway, Squire Paul had the dress on. Did he have the dress on at that point?
Well, what we did is we pulled somebody up from the audience, one of our volunteers, which you could see on the DVD if you purchased it. The Rogue Blades.
Oh, we'll get to the DVD.
All right, fair enough.
I love the product placement again.
We're not subtle. That's not our deal. So we pulled up a volunteer, and for some reason, he pulled out his wife's lipstick from his pocket. So he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have my wife's lipstick." And we're like, "Yeah, right, your wife's lipstick." So he tosses it back to her. So Paul goes back.
And I think he grabbed somebody else's lipstick back there.
Right.
And then when he came out as Fair Paulina, he had lipstick, like a third grader, I think.
Oh yeah, just
all
I
over
mean,
his
like
face.
just crayon on his face. It was amazing
Yeah, just hilarious in and of itself.
and unsettling.
Yes, very creepy. But then he came out. We went through the whole deal with the volunteer, and then he came back out as a barbarian, wearing the barbarian outfit.
with his beard on, and then he pulls the beard down, and he still has the lipstick on.
And I'm going to tell you, it is probably the hardest I've ever laughed during a show. I fell down laughing. I couldn't
that's true.
breathe. My lungs, my chest hurt afterwards. Just the funniest thing I think I've ever.
And he said, "I didn't have time to get the lipstick off," and so he did the rest of the show with the lipstick on.
And I think I got a little more smeared as time went on
It was
throughout the show.
really,
Yeah,
it was amazing.
So when I actually, a few weekends ago, I saw your show for the very first time ever, despite coming to the Michigan Renaissance Festival for now the 4th year in a row.
All right.
So when I was watching your show, I witnessed a very slick wedding proposal. Now, was that a first for your show?
Nah,
I didn't think that was the case.
We've done half a dozen of them or more over the course
festivals.
of 17 years doing this.
We enjoy it. It's a chance to be a part of somebody else's, life
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. I mean, like one of the most special moments that a couple will ever have. And I say, you understand that this moment, which means the world to you, is going to have us in it for the rest of your lives. Okay, I mean, you understand that, and they're always like, yeah, and I'm like, as you wish.
It's very flattering.
Which of course means I love you. Yeah. It's a Princess Bride joke.
So if people wanted to set up a wedding proposal, how would they go about contacting you?
Send me a personal message on Facebook, and we'll take care of it from there.
Fair enough. Now,
I see what you did there. The Renaissance Fair.
Oh,
See,
I wasn't even trying to go for puns.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, feel free.
Oh, I don't know about that. No.
Now, puns may be the lowest form of humor, but they are a form of humor.
Indeed, they are.
Sure.
Speaking of humorous things, thank you for the nice segue setup.
Absolutely.
You've wrote a few books.
I have.
You wrote books? Sorry.
So, what are the books and what are they about?
All right, the ones that I'm selling at the Renaissance Festival are actually novels about the Rogue Blades. Like 6 years ago, I wrote the first book, The Rogue Blades, because, and to be honest, these books are kind of love letters to all of our friends and other entertainers that we've worked with for, over the course of 17 years. Because these people put a lot of effort into their personas and their costumes and things like that. And I thought, they should be kind of immortalized. So almost everybody you will meet in these books is somebody that we've worked with or that I've known from the festival. So this is the first book. This is kind of our origin story. This is the second one. Tournaments and Treachery is the second one, where there's a couple of different tournaments going on, and the Rogue Blades are operating independently, and how it all comes together at the end. It's kind of fun.
So, and is there a third one coming along the way?
There certainly is. It's almost done, in fact. But I couldn't get it done in time this year because we had something else we were working on.
What was that?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe our DVD.
Before we get to the DVD, influential writers for you.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, like Terry Brooks and, of course, J.R. Tolkien and stuff like that. Those Terry Pratchett has always been one of my favorites. So, I mean, those are kind of the main ones. Stephen King's always been a favorite of mine, but that's just multiple characters and intricate storytelling, and that's what I try to do. Not that I'm comparing myself to any of these guys, because these stories aren't even. This is fantasy and fun. So, yeah, those are kind of my.
Whilst doing research on you, I enjoyed your 2 short stories, Metamorph and Suburban Coven.
Oh, my God, you read those?
Yes, I have.
Outstanding.
I really like Suburban Coven.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why I was saying Coven. Yeah, this is inside of a watery cave, but nonetheless, that would have been an interesting story.
It would have been much different.
With Mr. No, let me get his name. I know he was a garbage man.
Yep. First name was Tony.
Shrink.
Correct.
Tony Shrink. Good.
Well done.
That should be the next story.
Well, I'll tell you what, that story was written. I first started getting serious about writing, 20 years ago?
Oh, 25 years.
Maybe 25 years ago.
sure.
And so what I started doing is I started off with a bunch of different short stories because I wanted to just, dip my toe in it. And that was one of them that I came up with. And I have a whole series of them that I have on a hard drive somewhere that I haven't shared yet. So I've started sharing them on my writer's blog.
That was actually very enjoyable, those
Thank
2
you.
stories. I
Thank you very
didn't
much.
read every single thing on your blog because I didn't have enough time.
No, you don't. No.
Otherwise, I
that's fine.
probably would have. Because
Fantastic.
that's how in-depth I go with my research.
Outstanding.
Well, I try.
also, but did you also see, if you go to Amazon, I have the digital versions of the books. Plus, every year I write a Christmas story for the Rogue Blades.
Yes.
And it's done in installations. So it's like 4 or 5 installations for a Christmas story. Every
And
year.
if people wanted to find out more about your short stories and whatnot, where can they go?
Okay, to my Facebook writers page, Dave Kish's writers page, Novels, Knaves, and Nephilim.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you 2 have mentioned a certain DVD that happens to be on the table. So why did you choose Rick Rock to interview you?
Did we choose
don't
Rick
think we
Rock?
really
I don't
chose
think.
him.
I think he just showed up. I mean,
was
really,
there.
it wasn't anything we
We
wanted.
thought
I
it was
mean,
just gonna be the 3 of us
oh,
talking, and all of a
gosh.
sudden he shows up.
And
in
all of a
this
sudden, Rick.
multicolored
And how do you
jacket.
say no to Rick Rock?
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Easily? No?
No.
Yeah.
Rick Rock is one of the most talented people at this festival
that we've ever met.
For sure.
Seriously, and to have him interview us was just a fantastic.
And
thing.
we've had the joy to share stage with him most years we've done fairs, and we play off of Rick on the stage. And when it came time to do an interview, it only made sense it was Rick.
For sure. I mean, I like the fact like during the DVD, like he kept periodically putting up the paper plate beard with the cigar. Yeah. I was like, is this Freud by chance? Is that what he was going for?
Yes,
look, sometimes a sword is just a sword, all right? That's all I'm saying.
And sometimes a beard with a cigar is just a beard with a cigar, but it was Freud.
So do you have any favorite stories involving Rick Rock?
Wow, we've done a lot of goofy stuff. There was one of our shows, we were doing a Star Wars theme. So, and at that point, we had the last show of the day here, and we kind of would go more than 45 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. But Rick would be there at every moment, and he would come out. One time he came out with, he had pulled, and this is in the Star Wars show, he pulled his hair into side ponytails. And he comes marching out, and he's going like this, and he starts doing Jar Jar Binks. So he comes out there, does a thing, turns around and comes back. We find out after the show he didn't know the character. He'd never seen the movie, didn't know who he was. Somebody told him, and he just went and did it and nailed it.
That was me. I told him.
You did?
Yeah, that was me.
You did really good.
I know. I did well.
Does not explain why you should be better at this. All right. But then also at that same thing, he has a black cloak that he wears. And he took it and he turned it around, and he had it so it was all black and it was over his face. Then he took like a pair of sunglasses and he had an upside down visor, and he comes walking out. And at that point, Paul has down on his hands and knees, and somebody had given him a pie. And Rick walks over, looks down at him, bends down, takes the pie, turns and walks away. And Paul says, Darth Vader just stole my pie. Another one of the really good ones that Rick does is we did a Wizard of Oz themed show. and so there's a point where Sir James gets insulted, and he turns to go back into the backstage area, and he tries to open the door, and he can't. All of a sudden, Rick pops out of the window, pulls the curtain, and he goes, nobody gets in to see the wizard, not know how. And it just kills us.
Yeah, he's just
he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's a very talented man. I mean, I had the pleasure of interviewing him a few years ago.
I saw that interview.
Because I sent it to you, but
yes,
I'm glad that you watched it, and I appreciate that. So you mentioned Squire Paul a moment ago, and thank you so much for holding the camera.
Stay.
But you can't talk. He briefly mentioned on the DVD that hotel pranks, but he didn't get to talk about them. Would you care to share one of them?
All right, one of his favorite ones is like he'll be like sleeping on an air mattress or something, and then he'll wait till we fall asleep, and then he'll slowly crawl in the dark past one bed over to usually where Sir James is sleeping, and then we'll scare him. And not
as much fun as you think it sounds.
Oh, it's actually
really not.
Well, it scares me too. That's the problem, because there's someone crawling around our room. But it's he has no problem playing
He
hotel
pranked
pranks.
somebody else at one of the other acts.
Oh yeah, he had.
Bits.
Yeah, he had. They had been talking with him, and like two of the people had not been there at the time, so he hid. He hid under a
fold-out couch.
Yes, so he was
there.
hiding under there, and they were recording this, and and it's like he just said, "Watch this now. Wait, just wait, and it's seriously like 10 minutes before he jumped out and scared them. I mean, he goes for the long game when it comes to pranks.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I would like to dive into a little bit of your personal lives. Not too much, but just a little bit. What was your first exposure to the Ren Faire scene?
My first exposure to this, I was in my teens, and I had an aunt and uncle who were really cool, and they loved the Renaissance Festival. And every year they would throw a big party at their house where they would dress up as royalty, and they wanted someone that could juggle, because I could juggle, and they said, would you come over and be Igor for us, and like show people where to park and all that, and juggle for our guests. And I said, all right. So I would do this at their big party. And I fell in love with it. And they said, all right, well, the Renaissance Festival is this. So I finally started to go to the Renaissance Festival, and it was amazing. This is like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever for me.
What about you, Sir James?
My first exposure to the Renaissance Festival was coming with Dave.
Yeah, it was me.
I had no idea they even existed, so it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, because I'm pretty awesome.
You are.
Oh, thanks.
And tall, too.
Well, all right, compared to you, yeah.
I mean, I had heard of these things, but like my first exposure, I guess, was the Cedar Springs Ren Faire, which was a free weekend event held in Cedar Springs, I think around Labor Day. That's in June, right? No,
Memorial Day's in
Memorial
May.
Day. Wow.
September?
That's Labor Day.
I apparently don't know dates. I just know how to do interviews. That's about
That's
the
fine.
extent of it.
No.
But I went there.
We'll
and
do
it
the
was,
heavy lifting. You just
I'll just ask the
you just ask questions.
But I went there and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I went to Black Rock Medieval Festival.
Sure,
and I was like,
sure.
wow, this is pretty cool. And then when I finally came to Murph, I was like, whoa.
Exactly. That we started out at the smaller fairs. And we did 5 or 6 years of smaller fairs before we finally got here. And, and this, of course, is kind of our home fair now. So.
I mean, I still enjoy the other ones. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Sure.
not downplaying them whatsoever.
No. Everything has its charm.
Even though the Cedar Springs Ren Faire is now defunct, they just stopped doing it.
That happens to a lot of the little ones.
I never got to go to, what was it called, Silverleaf?
Silverleaf, that was one of our very first ones.
Yeah,
I
which
heard-
eventually kind of turned into Black Rock. I think a lot of the same people
Oh, okay.
migrated over.
Yeah, had migrated over after it.
Fair enough. Now, I'm glad that that you two were able to put aside your differences to do this interview with me, but for a while you were able to put aside your differences to do a podcast called The Renaissance Guys.
Yes.
So, what was that podcast about?
That was and will be again.
Oh, good, because that was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah. It's coming
So,
back.
will the podcast come back?
It will. It had to stop because we had taken a small break and then we were getting ready to start back up, and my wife got sick. We were diagnosed with cancer, and so we spent 2 years dealing with that. But now that's kind of behind us, and we're moving forward. So we're going to start doing the show again.
Yeah, hopefully yet in the fall sometime.
Yep, that's what we want.
Yeah.
But what was the podcast about, though?
The podcast, it's we have been friends for over 30 years, and so what the thing that we love is the adventure movie and any movie with a sword fight in it. That became our niche. That's what we want to do. So we will pull out music. We will pull out the trailer, and we will then talk about the movie. And then at the end, we'll kind of do a little thing about positivity because we're kind of all about positivity.
I listened to a few episodes.
Oh, great.
Blade.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
You're pulling out the.
Gee whiz.
And The Last Samurai.
That's a good one.
And then I was going to work my way up to the 13th Warrior, but I just didn't have enough time. It's on the on my MP3 player to listen on the way home.
Oh, that's cool.
But I didn't have enough time to bring that up into conversation. But my goodness, after listening to you two describe, what, you expected me to do very little research on you?
I wouldn't. I didn't realize we were this interesting, and that's pretty great.
Well, I find
I
everyone
think
that
we're
I want to
awesome.
talk to interesting, for the most part.
Even you, Paul. Shh.
Yes, even you, Paul. But I would say that I will never watch Dungeons and Dragons after listening to your.
They can't sue us for that, will they? Can they sue
You
us for that?
go ahead. You can watch it.
Oh no. But
That's
see,
a sharp stick in the eye for an hour and a half.
I guess that was
man.
like back during that period where now movie theaters, or at least movie studios, seem to pay respects to like the source material. Look at the majority of the Marvel films; they're killing
Absolutely.
it. DC's doing okay, but I would feel like if Dungeons and Dragons was to come out today, I think it would get more respect
I
to
think
the
so
source
too.
material.
Also, if they would have done it like an adventure and started trying to make it a comedy, because there is a lot of comedy in Dungeons. Did you play?
No,
We
it's
used to
not my
play
thing.
together.
Yeah.
You're not a tabletop gamer?
No, I just don't have the imagination for it. I really
Fair,
don't.
fair.
And I wouldn't say that I'm an impatient person, but I'm just like, I'd just rather put something in my hands and.
You're a video game guy as opposed to a tabletop guy?
Yes.
Totally understandable.
But I have I have massive respect for gaming. I wouldn't just downplay it like, pfft, nerds.
All
yeah.
all nerds have their own nerd. You have your own nerddom, and that's absolutely fine. We started playing Dungeons and Dragons in college. And we would play again today if we had a chance.
Probably, yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned that you picked movies with at least one sword fighting scene. What movies do you hold in high regard as far as sword combat goes?
Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk,
Lady Hawk, the final scene with Antiana.
Navarre and Mark. That's a good one. The Princess Bride, the sword fight with Inigo and Wesley. That's always a great one. One of the first ones I fell in love with was Highlander.
Okay.
You know, and now looking compared to what they've done as far as swordplay goes, it doesn't really stand top 10, but it is still one of my absolute favorite movies that has sword fighting in it. I think Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Yeah, that's one of our absolute favorites. And that's some of the stuff we do in the show was inspired by that.
Nice. And when you bring back the podcast, is it going to follow the same format of dissecting a movie that features sword combat and what you mentioned before?
Yeah, that's
So are there any movies that you plan on doing podcasts around?
Yeah, we haven't done any of the Star Wars. We haven't done any of the Lord of the Rings. We haven't done any of the Hobbit. I mean, we have a lot of stuff. And that's just, I mean, there's a James Bond movie with a bunch of sword fighting in it. Yeah, Die Another Day, I think it was.
Okay.
Pierce Brosnan's does a bunch of sword fighting. That's a fun one. Like young Sherlock Holmes has a cool sword fight or two in it.
We have a little-known film,
Hawk the Slayer.
If you haven't seen it,
we're saving that one up.
Yeah.
What about Big Trouble in Little China?
Yes. Yeah. We haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Kill Bill movies and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to mention Kill Bill too.
We had a schedule set up, and we had a bunch of people who said, "Hey, watch this." So we've got a bunch of them lined up, but we just didn't have the opportunity to do them yet.
Okay, have you seen Rurouni Kenshin?
Mm-mm.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, Rurouni Kenshin is based on a Japanese manga about Kenshin Himura, I want to say his last name. He is a samurai that just wanders the land, but he doesn't want to kill people anymore. So actually the part that's sharp on his katana is actually dull on purpose. So like when he strikes people, he just knocks them out. So he's going out of his way because he used to be like a ruthless samurai, just killing everyone back in the day, but then he met somebody and it just helped him reform, so it's been an anime series. It was a long-running manga series, and they recently made a live-action film.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Oh, okay.
But I heard it was pretty good.
All right, we'll get that.
Yeah,
yes,
that'd be great.
Maybe I might send that to you in a message.
Maybe then we'll get you to be on the show to talk about it with us.
That's a possibility right now.
Do you hear that?
That's the sound of Rick Rock in the background.
So he's always there when we're having interviews. Oh my gosh.
The man can't just he can't just stay away from attention.
We've actually been at other fairs doing interviews with people, and he's like walked behind us and then walked in front of us just to be in the interview.
I just wish that when I was interviewing him, you three would have just showed up in the background.
No.
How about that for continuity right there?
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping this up, I do have to ask this. What does the Ren Faire community mean to you?
I would tell you that it is probably one of the happiest environments you can be in. I mean, people here are so accepting. They're willing to just give and share who they are and what their life's about. I mean, it's just a great place to get to know people, and you walk away feeling phenomenal every day. Then we walk back into our regular lives and
wish we were back here.
Yeah.
It really is one of the most welcoming communities in geekdom. It really is. And I mean, there are certain people who have like standards, and it's like, all right, relax. You're wearing a puffy shirt and LuLaRoe tights. You need to slow down.
Don't even get me started on that one.
All right, fair enough.
I will actually get started on that after you get done with it.
Okay, all right. And so to me, it's like, no, don't judge. If somebody's here having fun, and it is also one of the most open and welcoming communities for people who are kind of out of step with the regular world. They come here and they find a place that they can just kind of be, and it's pretty great.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So about this LuLaRoe shirt.
No, it's a puffy shirt.
Puffy shirt and
LuLaRoe
LuLaRoe
tights.
tights.
Yeah.
So I did an interview with her name's Mandy Stevenson.
I know Mandy.
We know
Yeah.
Mandy.
Really cool person.
Yep.
So at Black Rock Media the Festival,
She's great.
she was playing.
In case she was watching this.
Yeah.
I love you, Mandy.
She was playing Princess Katarina.
Yeah.
So
I always had her say "Big trouble for the moose and squirrel" for me.
So we came up with this bit that somehow I would introduce hypnotism, so that way she could.
Step out of character.
Yes.
Got it.
So, and then we were mentioning Rasputin and stuff like that, and time travel. And this guy, after watching the video, did a comment along the lines of, actually, that is the wrong time period. And I was like, wait. And I was like, dude, we came up with this in fun. It's all good, and we went and it was all good. So there was no problems between he and I. But what I wanted to do is like, wait. So you're pulling the actually on the time frame, not the fact that I am talking to her on camera. With microphones. I am a half-black man talking to royalty back in that time period in like a Eastern European country. You didn't bother to mention any of that, but Rasputin in time frame was where you drew the line. I'm like,
he's got a specific level of nerd for him.
I was like, wow. And I'm like, dude.
And he's watching it online.
Yes.
Okay, see.
I was like, dude, it's gonna be okay. I mean, because one of my rules is never argue online. Never ever.
I agree.
So I was
Get a
just,
sword and fight.
I just squashed it kindly, and it was all good. But I was just like, wow, dude, wow,
That's beautiful.
way to gatekeep. Take it down a notch.
You've done good work here, sir. Thank you for pointing this out. You've made the internet a better place.
I was like at home, like, well, he sure showed me.
Ooh, chastised.
But final 2 questions for you, gentlemen.
Okay.
So people wanted to find out more about you online. Where could they go?
Facebook is really where we do a lot of our stuff right now. We have a Rogue Blades page on Facebook. Go there and find it. Look for us. We each have individual character pages, too. You can find mine are called Dave's Knaves. You can find that, and that's where I post Dave Knave stuff all the time. And his is
Sir James Eyebrow. But
just
I
like
don't
on the
really
show.
post anything on there. So.
No, he's very lame when it comes to online stuff. But I also have an Instagram under Dave the Knave, Kuhnave. And or you can just find me and do my, follow my personal stuff. Plus my writing stuff. I also post a lot of Rogue Blade stuff on there as well.
And we have Rogue Blade's Instagram.
Instagram now too, yeah.
So that's there as well.
In fact, we're just really getting into gear with the online stuff. We're
Fair
actually
enough.
having his daughter help us out.
Ooh. So, and will the Renaissance Guys podcast be announced through the Facebook, or will it be back on Podomatic?
Yeah,
Where I
absolutely.
found
As
it?
of right now, yes, it'll be on Podomatic.
Is it going to still be a part of the Nerdissance? Or is that now done?
We need to talk. I think they kind of they mothballed that, so the Renaissance Guys will have to be part of something else, or it'll just be the thing.
Fair enough. Final question. What would you like to say to your fans throughout the 17 years that you've been performing?
Thank you so much. We're flattered that you've continued to come back to the show, and we're thrilled to be able to continue being able to do this for you.
I want to say I'm really sorry I don't have book 3 done. There's some really upset people about that, so I'm very sorry. It'll be out, I promise. I'll be doing a Kickstarter very, very soon for it, because I don't pay for that myself. And thank you. When we started this, we had a dream of doing this when we were in our 20s. We were in college. We'd come to the fair a few times, and we're like, this is great. We want to do a show here. And then, so we decided that we wanted to do a show, and we promptly did nothing for like 15 years. And we're like, okay. So we're in our 30s, and we're like, if we don't do something now, we're never going to do it. So that's when we got serious. We wrote the show. We started getting into smaller fairs, and then we finally got in here. And our audience followed us from little fair to here. And then this started to grow, and then our fans became more than fans; they became friends, and a lot of it more feels like family at this point. So and we couldn't ask for more. People who want to see us, and they see our show again and again and again, and that is the hugest compliment. And to think that stuff that came out of our heads makes people laugh and means something. We have people that say we quote the Rogue Blades every day at our house, and it's like, oh, geez, I mean. To be part of people's lives when they're not even with us, that's pretty fantastic. And that means the world to us.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for this interview. I do appreciate it. And one of my final thanks to you is the thing that I can appreciate about your show and about you two, well, you three, thank you for holding the podcast. I'm at the tripod.
You're doing well.
The fact is, like, you had that idea, and I'm pretty sure it was nagging you, and you were like, I got to get out and I got to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life.
That's exactly
The fact
it.
of the matter is, you took that step forward, you took that plunge off that cliff, and look where you're at now.
And that's kind of our message to everybody. If you want to do something, do it.
Sure.
If it falls flat, that's fine. But wouldn't you rather know than say, I wish I would have? We don't. That's why I wrote books. That's why I do NaNoWriMo every year, National Novel Writing Month, because it's like, if not now, when?
Yeah. And I appreciate that for your shows, because after doing a lot of research on you, you change it up. So it's not the same show every single time. So that I really appreciate
And that is, again, thanks to our fans and friends. They kind of help shape every show. So, yeah, thanks.
Fans can be awesome.
They are.
I don't think of any other way to end this interview with that. Fans are awesome.
That's what I agree with that.
Well, folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene here at the Michigan Renaissance Festival with 2 of the Rogue Blades, Dave the Knave and Sir James, and Squire Paul being kind enough once again to hold the podcast. Podcast? Why do I keep saying podcast?
Because you want us to
you
put
wanna
out more
have
episodes.
more
We totally
podcasts.
understand.
Yeah,
We're
we
going to
can-
get.
we will do
Will
it.
you
I do
stop
wanna listen to
harassing
more of
us?
the
We will
podcast.
have you on. We will
All
bring
right,
you on
fine. We'll
ours.
do your movie.
Okay,
What's it
fine.
called again?
Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, Macaroni Kenshin.
Maroney.
Yeah,
Wasn't he
Macaroni
a-
Kenshin
wasn't
will
he
be
in
on our.
Batman? Wasn't he one of the
It's
bad
Roman
guys?
Maroney.
Maroney, yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
got
Roman
you.
Maroney, like you said, Batman. My goodness. Wow, that's
I'm-
a throwback.
I'm the Dark Knight.
Your voice is not gravelly enough for you to be the Dark
Do it,
Knight.
do it. You
Okay, sorry about that.
There you
It's like,
go.
could you swallow any more gravel, Christian Bale?
I don't think he could. That was unreal.
Well, folks, take it easy.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody.